Hello and welcome to Too Fast, Too Forever. There's all kinds of family, we chose this one. This is episode 252, Hell or High Water from 2016. I'm Joey Lewandowski.
I'm Joe too, and this episode is brought to you by Robert Cargill, the author of the great Texas oil heist, Little Oil versus Big Oil. The slant hole story is a significant piece of Texas history, and it must be told before no one is left to tell it. Available on Amazon. Shout out to Robert Cargill.
Well, shout out to Robert Cargill, and welcome to Too Fast, Too Forever. After the break, we'll be talking about Alex Elonen's patron pick, and I will say it now, I'll say it again later, probably the only actual real patron pick Alex will ever make for us, one that he's not trolling us on.
Yeah.
So thank you, Alex, for not being your normal Alex self for this week. I mean, we might have done this movie anyway, this just sealed the deal, but we'll be covering that after the break. Joe, extracurricular activities, what have you been up to since we last spoke?
I had a delightful weekend in Pittsburgh.
I saw some of the Instagrams.
Yes. So I went back to Pittsburgh this weekend. My buddy Matt was visiting. I mentioned that, and he came back with us. The main point of that trip back was Matt's favorite band is Metallica. He loves going to see them, and he wanted to go see them in Pittsburgh, so he invited us to go with him because
Did you talk about this on the episode or just before we started recording last week? Because you told, I think it was maybe before we started recording.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay, yeah, okay. So if this is an echo, like I knew that you were going to Pittsburgh for Metallica, but I don't remember if that was on the. I don't think it was on the episode yet. I think it was probably before we started recording. But okay, keep going.
Yeah. So I'll do back to front. Sunday we went to go see Metallica, and they were, I think, who was it, like Ice Nine Kills and Greta Van Fleet opened for them. Are you a fan?
I don't know I don't know Ice Nine Kills, but Greta Van Fleet I like. I mean, I don't love, but like they're
Rachel loves them.
They're the Led Zeppelin sounding band that like people either love for that reason or hate for that reason.
Yes. So Rachel really, really loves them. She didn't join us for the concert, but so I got to see them for the first time.
Were they good live?
Yeah, really good. Sounded really, really good.
Did I ever tell you? Sorry to interrupt again.
No,
did I ever tell you that Led Zeppelin like 10 years ago put out like a lost concert footage film or not lost, but they like put out a thing on Blu-ray or whatever. So my friend was working at a theater, like not a movie theater, but like a performance art theater, and they showed this movie, like they brought down a screen or whatever. And so he's like, we can just go see it for free because like it's not close to selling out. Like it's just like we put it up, whatever. And so we went there, and it was cool to see like basically like a live, quote unquote live Led Zeppelin concert. But like people were like filming the screen. I'm like, guys, what are you doing? Like this is not this is not like a concert. Like I also don't understand like at concerts and stuff when people are filming this. Like I know that you're far away and you want to be part of there, but like it's not like you're actually filming the artist, whatever. But like this is like even one step removed from that. Like you're filming a literal screen where you know the band performed this 50 years ago or whatever, and like members of the band are dead. It's just like what has happened? Like this is weird, but you know, to each their own.
I'm firmly like anti-video at concerts. I always want like a nice picture, right? So like I definitely take a couple pictures, but like. Your phone microphone is not going to sound good. Bands should essentially, like, I guess the bigger ones probably do it anyways, but, like, should just, like, do, like, recordings and, like, let you buy, rent.
Some bands do that. I don't remember who it is. Like, maybe it's, like, fit, because there's bands that, like, bootleg, like, they do, like, all these, like, Fish, like, there's, like, hundreds of Fish bootlegs and whatever online.
Yeah.
But I think that there are some bands, and I don't remember who they are again, but, like, you can buy that night's show on your way out, which is kind of a cool idea.
Yeah, that's ultimately, like, what they should do, right? Like, so it's like, hey, everybody put your phones down, like, enjoy the concert, and then at the end you get, like, nice sound, nice production, whatever. Like, even if they, like, let you stream it from their website later on the thing, like, I think a lot of the large bands could do it. So anyways, yeah, that's what I think. But Metallica was cool. They're not, like, so my thoughts always were, like, I enjoy some of their songs. Mm-hmm. They're not my, like, favorite band. And I was very glad that I got to go see them. I'm glad that I got to go see them with Matt, who really loved them. I ran into some other friends at the concert, and I was like, this is enjoyable. It's not like a band I would rush out to go see again. It's definitely not my favorite band. But I was like, hey, they put on a pretty decent show, and like...
How long did they play for?
2 hours, full 2 hour set.
Okay, because like I saw Guns N' Roses years ago, and they played for like almost 3 hours. I'm like, this is almost too long. Like, it was good, but I was just like, this is like an endurance test. But 2 hours is like... the long end of like what I think is kind of like not acceptable, but like before, after longer than that, I'm just like, all right, like what are we doing?
Yeah, yeah. Like you need to be like a top fucking tier band that has like so many hits to play for longer than 2 hours, right? Like even like when we saw Paul McCartney, I think it was like 2 hours. So that was really cool. And also very exciting was Saturday night just happened to be the first preseason game for the Steelers. So my mom, dad, uh, all the workers at the store that work for them, and all of us went to the Steelers game, and we got to see the first game at not Heinz Field, right?
Oh wait, they're no longer at Heinz Field.
They're Acrisure Stadium. They changed the name of it.
Oh, okay, that's dumb. Don't like that.
Yeah, exactly. All of Pittsburgh hates it. They sell shirts. Actually, my dad was wearing one because we bought him one before the game that says "It'll always be Heinz Field to me." Yeah, so we got to go to the first game at this new named stadium. We got to see the first game that won't have Ben Roethlisberger in like 20 years. And we got to see the first game of Kenny Pickett, which I thought was really cool because now I have gone to see Kenny Pickett get drafted. I've gone to see his very first game at Heinz Field as a Steeler, like in black and gold. Got to see his first touchdown. So I was like, oh man, like if this works out, I'm on a pretty good run here. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I saw Sidney Crosby's first game in Pittsburgh too, so I'm hoping that we can get a little bit of that same mojo going. It was awesome. It was just like a good time. The weather was beautiful. Got to do that. Got to hang out, see my parents and everything, and I just had an awesome weekend. We finished Better Call Saul. We started something yesterday that is really awesome. Did you even see the Manny Te'o documentary come up on Netflix?
I don't like browse places. Like I don't.
I know you don't.
You know, like
That's why I was asking.
But,
Yeah.
so Manti Te'o, who is the guy who famously had a fake girlfriend.
Yes. You know, like the story was kind of hazy, right? Because it was like he had this fake girlfriend, then his grandma died, and she died in a car crash on the same day, and then he like dedicated his season to both of them, and then it turned out that there was never any girlfriend. But I always thought that it kind of felt like he had known that it wasn't a real girlfriend. Do you know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah.
At some point, he kind of figured it out, got embarrassed, killed off his fake girlfriend on the same day his grandma died, which is, you know, like actual thing that happened, and was just like, oh, I can kind of get rid of this now. The documentary says otherwise. Like, they have the person that was the fake girlfriend catfishing him and him on the show, and like, so I'm only through part one of it, but it was really awesome so far, and that's pretty much it. That's been my past week. How about you?
Cool. Last week I had dinner with Brian Late Night Slumber Party Rodriguez, which was nice. Nice to see Brian IRL, not just behind the podcast microphone. He's probably going to be on the show again soon, right? Or no? Early next lap, Brian will be back. So then on Sunday, so Bob came up for a lottery pod, but our friend Dylan, who's also in our fantasy baseball league, he and his wife were talking to me because he's like, have you seen one of the Yankees top minor league prospects is this guy Anthony Volpe, who's playing for their AA affiliate in Somerset, which is like right around the corner from me. And he's like, have you seen him play yet? And I was like, no, not yet. Actually, I haven't gone there since they become affiliated with the Yankees. And he was like, oh, we should go sometime soon. I was like, yeah, cool. I'm down whenever. And so Sunday morning when Bob is supposed to come up, he's just Dylan texts and just like, hey, let's go today. And I was just like, we have other stuff that we're going to do, but let me check. And so we were like, oh, yeah, we can go. So we wind up going.
Okay.
They meet us there. Me and Bob go up there. Weirdly, so this is like a minor, dumb kind of thing that nobody cares about, but I think it was kind of cool. So we added in fantasy baseball this year, every team has a minor league roster spot because we were on a different site. ESPN doesn't allow it. We're back on ESPN because this other site sucked, but like we had the ability to stash a guy that is not in the majors, who's only in the minors. So it's like an extra roster spot for a guy that like you have high hopes for or whatever.
Does he get points or no?
No. It's you only get stats if you're in the majors, and then once you get called up in the majors, like you have to drop a guy from your current roster to add him. So I had added this guy, Zach Veen. Zacveen, Zach Veen, who's MLB.com's number 2 ranked outfielder prospect. Because I'm just like, you know, I need. There's basically no good outfielders, and I don't know what happened. Like there's like it's so shallow. Anyway, I was like, oh, I'll add this kid. And so he was in high A, got a whole bunch of steals. And then last week I saw that, there's a little like news icon on the player, and I click on it, it's like, oh, he's promoted to double A. I was like, cool, all right. And so we get to the ballpark, and I'm like, I don't know who this team is. It's the Hartford Yard Goats, which is right around your neck of the woods.
Yeah, they're like the local team. They constantly have commercials on TV and stuff like that. So yeah, the Yard Goats are like the Connecticut baseball team essentially.
So I was like, I don't know who the Yard Goats are affiliated with, and I looked it up, and I'm like, oh, it's the Rockies. I'm like, wait a minute. The Rockies are the guy, they're the team that has Zach Veen, and he just got promoted to double A, and so I'm watching, I'm like, oh, now I actually have, like, I cared about because the Yankees are the Patriots, like, they're affiliated with the Yankees, but, like,
yes.
this guy on the other team that I had no idea, like, that's the cool thing about minor league games, is, like, some of these kids are going to become, like, superstars, but most of them are just not going to pan out or whatever.
Yep.
But I was like, oh, I actually have, like, a vested interest in one of these guys, and, like,
on
I'm
both
going to
sides,
show you a picture of him.
Yeah.
Yeah, because, like, I liked him because, he was, he's got a lot of stolen bases, whatever, but he also looks like an absolute dirtbag. And I saw this picture and I was like, oh, hell yeah. So I'm sending you this picture. I saw this picture. I was like, yeah, fuck yeah, I want this guy.
Oh, yeah, that's great. He has like a really shitty
mustache, the kind of
mullet
mullet sort of thing. Yeah. And so I watch him. He's got these bright yellow cleats. He's super thin. He's like wiggling around the box. He had 2 hits. I'm like, this guy is great. Like, I don't know if I'm going to keep him forever or whatever, but like, hell yeah, let's go Zach Veen. So Patriots won big, which was nice. I got to see Zach Veen. And then it was also the Patriots like let, the kids run the bases after the game. And so my friend
cute.
Dylan, who came down with his wife, he and his wife have a 2-year-old or almost 2-year-old. And so little Cam got to run the bases, which was great.
That's so
cute.
It
was super fun. So that was great.
I love when teams do stuff like that. That's awesome. Good for them.
I mean,
kids,
it's small town baseball, right?
Yeah, but also just in general, like, I hate seeing old men, like, reaching a training camp for autographs, but, like, I really respect all the players that'll stand in line and sign, like, 100 autographs for children, right? Like, that's what it's about.
Right.
Like, let the kids get hype. Like, I'm not going to go bother Kenny Pickett for an autograph at camp, but, like, I hope that my spot would be taken by, like, 6, 7-year-olds, like...
Because, like, after the game, everybody's like, Volpe, sign my ball or whatever. And, like, it was, a mixture of kids and adults or whatever. And it's like, autograph hounds who are like, this kid's going to be, like, the future of the Yankees or whatever. But I was like, I want to go find Zach Veen and be like, hey, you're on my fancy team. He'd be like, what? Why? Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, exactly.
But, I didn't know. Like, I didn't wait around for him. I'm like, I'm not actually going to find this guy or whatever. But I thought it'd be funny because, like, nobody knows who he is. Like, it's just he's a name that I didn't even know. And I'm just like, all right, whatever. That's fun. And then last night, Tuesday, I saw Bodies. Do you know about this movie? Have you heard of this movie?
I think you mentioned that you were excited for it, but I forget why. So continue.
Maybe I don't know. It's a new A24 movie. It's the only person I think in it that you would know is Pete Davidson is in it.
We've been seeing commercials for it, and Rachel's mentioned it. That's what it is. It's actually getting like actual commercials. We've seen them somewhere. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's one of the big releases. Of this past weekend.
Yep.
It's really good. It's really funny. It's kind of like it's a horror movie, kind of like Scream, kind of like the game they're playing, like Bodies is basically like Mafia, but like in real life, like when they're hanging out.
Yes, that's right. Okay.
But it's kind of like a Gen Z satire, which shouldn't work, but works really well. But Pete Davidson's great in it. Rachel Sennett, who was in Shiva Baby, is great in it. Amanda Stenberg is in it. She's the lead, I guess. The girl from Borat 2 is in it too. Like, it's just a really good cast of like people who like are either about to break out or like Pete Davidson have broken out or whatever, but it's really good. Highly recommend Bodies. Oh, the other thing, and this is not really a thing I did, but I was looking because, have you seen Top Gun Maverick yet or not yet?
No, I still haven't. It's not on streaming yet though, right?
No, well that's the thing. So this came out Memorial Day weekend in May, and now we know that the way that theaters work, everything is basically like this like 45-day turnaround, but because it's still making money, like last weekend, I think it was number 2 because like there's just nothing else to compete. Like it was Bullet Train number 1 and then this number 2. So like there's nothing to compete with it. But they announced this week when it's coming out, and it's coming out on streaming next week or like this week, I think, as you hear this. So it's very soon, so you'll be able to like rent it at home. But the crazy thing is that it's on Blu-ray November 1st, which is like 5.5 months after it came out. I'm like, that's unheard of now. Like, everything is like such a quick turnaround. This just like, hey, we're making money, so like we're not going to let you just own it at home. You have to rent it. This is crazy, but
that's weird.
It's like, and this is the only movie that's like that. Like everything else is like quickly, like either on streaming. Like there's things that are in theaters now for a week or two, and then on streaming or whatever. And this is just like, nope, you gotta wait.
Yeah, because we've talked about it. Like, like since pandemic, streaming is like, there's how many movies have we seen that have been like streaming essentially the same time as it's in theaters?
Mm-hmm.
Like, so to have the opposite happen is pretty crazy.
There's all these like the smaller movies, like they're huge movies you're gonna have to wait for, like Disney, like Marvel movies and stuff like that. But like smaller indie movies, like the things that you want to support in theaters, if you wait like 2 weeks, will be on demand. It's great, like it's good and bad, like it's annoying but also convenient. So like I don't know, it's weird though.
It is weird.
I also we've had a couple people tweeting at us about episodes that they're listening to in the back catalog. Like Reaction Rock was just listening to the Better Luck Tomorrow episode.
Yep.
And Jason Rainey was saying that he was listening to an older episode, but he commented because, in my daily sitcom catch up, I'm now at the end of Curb season 2, the start of Simpsons 13, and the start of King of the Hill season 6. But I tweeted, every day I tweet, when I watch one of those episodes, I tweet a picture. And the King of the Hill one I tweeted was a very funny episode. And Jason's like, this is so weird. I was just listening to an old episode, and someone wrote in about this scene. And I was like, what? And it's a scene that Jerry wrote it about in December. And when I guess I started King of the Hill or whatever. And he's like, I love that show. I especially love the scene. It makes me cry laughing every time. And so just this weird, like an episode that Jason just listened to.
That is weird.
I was watching, and like it was just this weird, like
coincidence,
kind of coincidence, but not really. But it's just weird. But anyway, it was a great episode. Bobby Goes Nuts, where Bobby Hill gets picked on at school, and he wants to take boxing at the Y, but it's filled up, so he takes a women's self-defense class, and so his go-to move becomes kicking guys in the nuts, and everybody has very mixed opinions about that. But his whole thing is like, hands off my purse, I don't know you, and he kicks people in the balls.
I even know this scene, I think. Yeah.
So it was just a weird kind of coincidence. But yeah, if you're listening to like back catalog episodes, I'm curious to see, people go back, like, Reaction Rock was saying he was waiting until Better Luck Tomorrow was available on streaming. I think it's on Pluto. I also think it's maybe on Criterion Channel now too.
On that note, the fucking Jeopardy Pluto channel is like pretty much nonstop playing in my house. I told you about that, right? Is Jeopardy and Wheel are separate channels? Yes. So you get like fully just old Alex Trebek Jeopardies, and it seems like they're kind of playing them in like batches. You know what I mean? Which is nice. Okay. So like you'll get like, a champion that goes on a run for like 5 or 6 episodes in a row. So it seems it's kind of curated. It's not just like random episodes is what I'm trying to explain.
Well, I would hope that like they would have, like, if somebody was like a 12-game winner, they would show all those in a row or something, right? And then maybe
that's what it feels like they're doing.
Bit. Yeah.
I haven't like confirmed or looked it up, but there's definitely like you see like the same champion win a couple episodes in a row, and then like I don't know if they show like their whole run or what. I haven't gotten that far into it, but it's cool that it plays like that. And I just like trivia, and I like watching Jeopardy, so I'm very, very thankful Pluto put that on.
Oh, the other thing I wanted to say, and we were sort of tweeting about this too, and we'll, just keep an eye on the Too Fast Twitter if you care about this, but Dream Video Division, which is one of the kind of like, I think more official Racer Trash sort of spin-offs, like after Racer Trash died, this is like, they kind of scattered, and like a bunch of people do a bunch of things for different like outlets, platforms, whatever you want to call them, Twitch channels.
Yeah.
But Dream Video Division seems like one of the bigger ones. And last week they streamed from a film festival, but then they've rerun it a couple times. This thing, they called it Speed with more ease. But they said, for a movie that is all about going fast, the movie Speed is actually quite slow. And so we want to do the entire thing in 8 minutes. And so they did the entire movie in 8 minutes. And then the rest of the hour, they did like the first 8 minutes of The Fast and the Furious, called The Slow and the Serious, and each minute became 5 minutes.
Interesting.
And so it was wonderful. I know you and Rachel watched a little bit of it.
Yes.
They've rerun it a couple times, but it's out there if you can find it. If just follow DV Division, I think, on Twitter, or we'll retweet it. But it's really good. They cut in other things. They slow things down. It basically is the start of the first movie up to the point where Dom shows up, the back of his head, at Turner's Cafe.
Yeah.
And that takes like 45 minutes or something, or 40 minutes. Like, it's great. It's so slow. It's so wonderful. And I was sort of half watching, because I knew they were going to re-air it. And so I was half watching it while I was doing other things. I'm like, oh, okay, so there's Brian. Oh, okay, there's some Fast and Furious. Oh, there's a little bit more. And it just kept going and kept going and kept. I was like, what is happening? So Speed, and part of that is The Slow and the Serious. So, Racer Trash sort of style, where it's like all chopped and screwed and, visual affected and whatever, but about the Fast and Furious, which is very cool.
Very, very cool. Also, I have just a general question first. Who the fuck is buying all the George Pickett memes T-shirts from the Too Fast store?
It's gotta be on a Reddit or something.
Rachel
somewhere. We've sold like 10 of this dumb shirt.
It's amazing. I mean, first of all, I love mine and I wear it all the time. But I'm getting to a point where, like, Joey, I'm gonna run into someone wearing this at one point.
Well, I mean, there's only 10 people in the world, so maybe if you do, I don't know, you have to you have to get a picture or something.
An autograph,
you have to find out where
something.
they got it from.
Yeah. But I'm very proud of it. That's like one of the big takeaways for me. As you guys know, I'm a big Steelers fan, and this wide receiver, we talked about the shirt design before, but like this wide receiver we drafted has just been a menace throughout training camp, and he scored his first touchdown on Saturday. If you play fantasy football, this might be a guy you want to sneak later. I would highly recommend it because he looks like he's going to go off. They love him, so...
I was trying to figure out if people could, how you find it. If you search George Pickens Fast and Furious shirt, we're #1 on Google, but no one's doing that because who would ever do that?
That's weird. Yeah.
But if you search George Pickens on TeePublic, we're nowhere to be found. If you just search Pickens, because their search engine's terrible, if you just search Pickens, we're like 7th, which is pretty high, and either first or second about this kid, because there's like a soccer player in Europe whose last name is Pickens, who's apparently very good, and like they kind of SEO'd us out.
Okay.
But you can kind of find it. I don't know who wants it. I mean, it's a funny idea, but you were just like, hey, I want this shirt. Can you put up a design so I can buy it?
Yes, I wanted one.
And I assumed no one would either find it or get taken down or whatever, but we've sold like 800. I was also telling my friends, I'm like, so many people are buying this. They're like, oh, you must be making so much money. I'm like, no, we made like $20. Like, we don't make any money on the shirts. Like, oh, we thought you were making like hundreds of dollars. I was like, no.
No.
Like, we make $2 a shirt. Like, it's not like we're... really raking it in here. I mean, it's funny. It's more funny than anything.
It's more funny.
It's also
yes.
confusing. So
yeah. So Joey keeps like the emails come to the Too Fast email. So Joey will like send me updates. Like more people bought the George Pickens shirt, and we're like, how? Why? And I just want to know who it is. So if for any reason you bought one, please let us know. Like just out of curiosity.
I think it must have been shared somewhere, either on Twitter or like a Reddit or something, because
I had Rachel search
there were like
everything
7 or 8 that were sold in the span of like 3 days, and it's just not like people aren't searching TeePublic for George. Like, I don't know. It's weird. I have no idea.
Yeah, I have no idea either.
Anyway, if you want to support us, go buy our dumb shirts. I mean, I made that Justice is Coming shirt. No one has bought any design with that. Like, not a sticker, not a T-shirt, anything. There's stuff up there, toofast2forever.shop for all those things. If you want to be a part of this, it's just a meme where he's watching himself get drafted on TV, except instead it's The Rock and Vin Diesel in Fast 5, so...
Also, oh, no, the thing that did happen, though, was that the NFL used it as their cover photo. Did you see that?
No. What cover photo? Like...
Their Twitter...
Oh, like him watching himself?
It was him watching himself score his first touchdown, because that was kind of a shot at... Did you see the Antonio Brown meme that was like... There was like the fake Antonio Brown quote that was like.
Well, I saw the real Antonio Brown quote that, like, yeah, as we were finishing up recording the last episode, that when he tweeted that thing out, so I've seen like
that
a
was a
memes about it. Yes. Mm-hmm.
No, that was a meme. Then Antonio Brown got it, retweeted it as if he said it, but it was like the only thing I wish is I could watch myself play.
Oh, he didn't actually say that?
No, of course not. But he
no,
just
don't
like
say of course not, because that absolutely seems like something he would say.
Well, it said like it would be like seeing Jesus at Red Rocks at the end. But I mean, I guess.
Like, no, that's like it's funny because it seems like it's something he would say.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, but it was a meme that somebody released, and then he just like co-signed it, and so they made George Pickens watching himself score a touchdown, and then the NFL made that their Twitter cover photo. I don't know if it's still that, but it was like last weekend.
Yeah, it is. It's George Pickens watching himself score a touchdown.
Yeah, exactly. So
anyway, we have a Patreon page. If you don't want to support us on the store, if you want to support us on the Patreon. toofast2forever.com. Shout out to Cassie Wilson, Ben Milliman, Nick Burris, Alex Elonen, Justin Kleiman, Brian Rodriguez of High School Slumber Party, Haley Gerbies, Wes Hampton, Jerry Robinson, Dan the Duke, Hayden Renano, D. Donato, Michael McGann, Lane Middleton, Lindsay Lewandowski, Nate Milton of the Kings of Sport, Jason Rainey, and Jessica Collins, a.k.a. Montez. Thank you all for supporting the $5 a month level or above. If you're a $10 patron and you have not gotten a pick in for next lap, every lap now you get a pick, please send that in via email or Twitter or Facebook Messenger or Instagram or whatever. You know how to get in touch with us.
Yeah.
toofast2forever.com to sign up there. And we have an email address, family@cageclub.me. And Joe, we have Jerry's monthly check-in. He refers to it basically as that in here.
Perfect.
Email from Jerry Robinson.
How are you doing, Jerry? Good to hear from you, bud.
There's a picture he sends, which I'm sending to you
Oh,
now.
cool.
Jerry says, hello there. Hey, guys. Hope you've been well. Got a bit of a monthly update since I moved, and I have some time on my hands, finally.
Okay.
It's been a month since Ileana and I moved into our quaint little home, still trying to get used to living together.
Yeah.
On the 1st through the 5th, we went on a cruise to celebrate our 5-year anniversary to Catalina Island and Ensenada.
Congrats.
We had a blast. It felt great to just be together. Didn't catch COVID, surprisingly. Congratulations on that, too. So that's good, and now we're back at work. Also, this past Tuesday, we went to see the Backstreet Boys. I saw some of his Instagram videos about this.
I did too. I saw his Facebook post. He said I think that it was a concert that they had tickets to, and then COVID canceled it. So good for them.
Even supposed to happen in 2020. Damn COVID. Yep, there you go.
Yep.
We also lost our voices screaming to our favorite songs. I'm now looking for a new job to avoid an hour-and-a-half commute, plus a $7 toll every day, nearly $6 in gas, and wear on my tires. Got a job offer from the post office, just waiting for clearance so I can turn in my 2 weeks of my current job as a spa specialist. Well, congratulations. Good luck Good luck with that.
Yeah, I hope you get your get that good post office job, man. That's good jobs. My uncle is a postman forever, and people don't leave those jobs. So.
Mm-hmm. I also bought F1 22 for my PS4. Man, it's dope. I've been playing on my TV. I made a team name called the Torettos because why not? Colors are black with a little neon green. That's all I've got. Got to get back to work. Be fast, never last. Don't get past or you'll lose that ass. No, Monica. Well, thank you, Jerry.
Thanks, Jerry. And your picture on the cruise looks really cute. Glad you guys had a good time. I have a question for you, Joey. Backstreet Boys are in sync.
The answer is really neither. Of the two, my sister liked NSYNC. My dad, for whatever reason, preferred the Backstreet Boys. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I don't have an answer.
It's tough. There's a lot of hits. I think NSYNC because the Christmas album is a nice touch. I'm guessing they both did Christmas albums.
I will say that, I was never, and this is not just me trying to be cool because I'm very clearly not cool. I never got into the boy band thing. I would strongly prefer the Christina, Britney, Mandy Moore, all those kind of singers.
I never was big into the boy bands either. That was right around the time that you also had Limp Bizkit and Eminem and all of these new metal pop rock type situations going on. So I was way more into those. But I had heard all the songs, and as I gotten older, I conceded that I greatly enjoy pop music. And I don't know, I liked NSYNC a lot, but both are really strong, man. Backstreet Boys had a ton of hits. So.
I think you just picked the greatest hits from both. I don't know album cuts from either. You know what I mean? I could probably name 3 or 4 songs from both, or maybe more. I don't know, but not a ton. But pick and choose.
Exactly.
It all. Why pick? Exactly. Why not both? Just like that girl in the
I was just curious.
Commercial.
I was curious if you had a preference because in our house we often do. I think we even talked about it with Nico and Kevo on here. It's X-Tina versus Britney, and that's a really, really tough one too. So,
sure. Joe, on the streets, news about the Fast and Furious. Anything you've seen in the last week?
No, I haven't seen anybody on the Today Show. I haven't seen anybody on sports things. How about you?
No, I get the Google alerts every day. I read Deadline and Variety every day, and people haven't sent stuff in. I don't think there's anything that's happening, as far as I know.
I did see. I think Reaction Rocket just retweeted today that there was the first clip released by the F9 Saga Twitter, and he was saying he has an assumption that maybe we get a trailer preview, sneak preview coming soon.
There's a clip that they did 3 hours ago that says, "You ready, kid?" And it's Dom and Sean at the end of Tokyo Drift.
Yeah.
Another year older. Happy birthday to Vin Diesel.
No, it was the "You ready, kid?" And he was saying maybe this is an allusion to that they're gonna release a trailer soon, or
he said, "I'm ready for a trailer." Somebody says, "Maybe please have that Tokyo Drift 2." Ooh. Yeah, so maybe trailer. Who knows?
Maybe.
Well, yeah, nothing else of note. Vin Diesel did have a birthday, so happy birthday to him. Oh, Brie Larson. This is, it's not really Fast and Furious news until she's in we see her, but I think that Captain Marvel ride just opened at Disneyland, so, tangentially related to Fast and Furious because she's in both.
Oh, that's kind of cool. What kind of ride is it? Is it another one of these, get on the car? Okay.
She has a YouTube channel, though, and she put up a video of her reacting to the ride, so I'm sure if you want to learn more about it, you can just watch that video or just, Google it, but I did no work there. I have no idea.
Okay.
I think that's it, though. I don't think there's anything else. Dwayne Johnson's still not in Fast 10. Nothing else to talk about. So the final thing to do before we take a break is the Fast and the Furious Minute. Too Fast, Too Furious Minute. Minute 71. A minute I called a hell of a deal.
No one's calling this off unless I do. Look, this is real simple. You make the run, you get Verone and his cash together so I can move in for the bust. All right? You don't, I will find enough charges on both of you to make you disappear. Take these. We're gonna have GPS on you the whole time just to make sure you don't get any cute ideas.
And to make sure nothing happens to him, right?
Yeah, right. Guy's a dick, man.
Yep.
Let me get this right. If we don't do this, then we go to jail. But if we do it, then Verone's gonna kill us.
It's a hell of a deal, huh?
Yeah. Maybe it is. But I know this guy's got an ass full of loot that he's ready to dump in our cars. And I can think of 2 reasons why Verone doesn't need that money anymore.
In this minute, Markham starts to get frustrated. He gives Brian and Roman walkie-talkies as he angrily explains to Brian, Roman, and Bilkins exactly how the job will go. Brian and Roman leave East Coast Fisheries and discuss their options, either not doing the job and going to jail, or doing the job and getting killed by Verone. Roman gets optimistic about a future where they get paid as the minute ends. Not a ton to talk about here. Notice that Agent Dunn did not say or do anything in this entire scene.
Nope.
Bilkins going to bat for Brian, but this is mostly just Markham yelling at everybody for 2 minutes. But what did you notice here? You know, we're leaving East Coast Fisheries. The next minute we're going to be somewhere else, which I'm excited about. But one more minute here, not much to look at. But you found at least one thing.
Yeah, I found one thing that I was really excited about. I couldn't find what the model of the walkie-talkies are. I spent a while looking through yellow Motorola walkie-talkies, and I couldn't find ones that were the right shape. They all are kind of a similar shape, which is like kind of roundy, kind of rectangle-y, but none that like actually matched this. So 2 Motorola yellow walkie-talkies. Saw a couple signs, and one of the coolest things is that I think I want you to click on this Google Maps link here now.
West Flagler Street.
So behind Roman is a sign that says West Flagler Street, okay? So I was like, cool. And we already kind of knew where the building was. But I didn't know from last time that Google Maps actually had a boat come down that water.
Okay.
So you can see the back of the building that they like is changed, but you could see essentially where they shot, and like not like the actual set, because like I said, that from last time, remember we were like, oh, it must have been torn down and replaced with this thing, but you see the like bridge that is behind Roman in this scene, and it's from the water, so you can kind of take a look around, and it does look familiar. Like if you match it up with the minute, you're like, oh wow, like those boats across the thing, there was like a little shack there, and like these kind of like, so it's very, very similar. And I mean,
it makes sense that, like, I've seen the Google Maps cars with like, the 360-degree camera, but it would make sense that there is also, they stick that on a boat and just send it down a river, right? Like,
yeah, but I never thought about it, so it was cool to get a shot from the back. I wish that we would have had this option and to be able to see it at the time that Too Fast was shot, so that we could actually get, like, a nice shot of that landscape. Because, you know, like, a lot of times they're in buildings and stuff. This is kind of outside in a place that's kind of, like, markable. So I wish we could have got a shot of the actual, like, fisheries place that they were in and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, there might have been at one point, but the way they just update everything with whenever they resend it down. So I don't know if the old versions are available anywhere, but yeah, I would agree that, especially if there was one. I mean, it would predate Google Maps probably, especially like the way that they would do it now. But like, if there was one while they were filming, just like, oh look, there's Bilkins with that shirt. Okay, cool. But anything else that you noticed in this minute?
No, that was the most coolest, memorable thing that I saw, and I was excited about, because otherwise it was like, you know, lots of faces and nothing really else.
There is a phone number you found that I'm not going to call.
Oh, yeah, there's a sign behind Roman, and it's clearly just a 1-800 number ad to, like, for a Toyota dealership. It's 1-800-NEW-AUTO, too, so it's, like, the blandest thing ever. I put it in there. I know that we have the, like, telephone rule, but you said it, and I totally agreed, even when I put it in there, that, like, this is stupid, so It's not like a store or anything like that. It's like a billboard behind him.
The only other thing of real note here is that the new song on the score comes in, The Master Plan by David Arnold Begins. There are, if you look at this, I think we might have talked about this before, but if you look at the actual score track listings, there are so many spoilers. Like if you look, like upcoming songs include Brian Shoots Verone, City Chase, Brian Removes the ESD, like just things that are just like, oh, these are very specific action beat moments in the movie. The trivia question I have, I don't love. There's a couple things that are kind of similar to this. Did you have a question before I say what I wrote down, or no?
My only thought was to do, what does Markham give Roman and Brian?
Oh, the walkie-talkies. Okay. That's
and it could be
interesting.
like car keys, walkie-talkies. It could be like GPS trackers,
Guns. Yeah.
guns. What badges, whatever. Right? Like
that might be better because like the things that I was trying to come up with were like based on wording. Like the one that I wrote down here was, what does Markham threaten Brian and Roman with? Because it's very specific wording. Enough charges to make them disappear.
That seems.
It's not great, but I was just trying to think, because there's the other thing, similarly specific, unusual wording, is Roman saying he's got an ass full of loot about Verone, which, again, I don't know, like, it's not a great question. So I think yours is not a great question, but I don't know that there's anything better. Like, I think the walkie-talkie thing is the best one, because I think it's not pedantic bullshit like mine.
Yeah.
It's gettable, and, like, there's actual things like we can,
Yeah, that's why I was thinking that. So you like that one? You want to go with that one?
Yeah, I think so.
It's kind of sly too. Like he gives it to them, but does he even say walkie-talkies?
No, he says, take these. We're gonna have GPS on you the whole time just to make sure you don't get any cute ideas.
Yeah,
because they had the trackers that he took out and he put in the can of Nas. Remember? But I think those cars are still being tracked by the cops anyway.
Yeah. And these are wired tighter than a whatever. Yeah.
What was your fourth answer? What does Markham give Brian and Roman before they leave to pull Verone's job? GPS trackers, guns, walkie-talkies, and
car keys, because that would kind of track, right?
It's hard when they're just in a place yelling at each other.
It's very, very hard. Yeah.
We've been very dialogue heavy recently too, but like they're not like they're not really
doing much action, right? And the action that
it's not really setting things up, yeah.
And the actions that like, and also how we can't do like how many blue candles are in this room for every question either, right? So
minute 71, a hell of a deal, which is a line from Brian saying about basically the rock and a hard place they're in. If we don't do this, we're going to jail, Roman says, but if we do it, then Verone's going to kill us. It's a hell of a deal, huh? A little bit of irony there from our boy Brian. Yeah. What does Markham give Brian and Roman before they leave to pull Verone's job? The answer is walkie-talkies. All right, Joe, let's take a break and let's come back and let's do Hell or High Water.
This is episode number 252, Hell or High Water. This episode is brought to you by Robert Cargill, the author of The Great Texas Oil Heist. He's a native son of East Texas, where as a child he was fascinated by the flaring gas from oil wells in his grandfather's backyard. So shout out to Robert Cargill.
Well, shout out to Robert Cargill. Welcome back to Too Fast, Too Forever. With us now is Alex Elonen in spirit for picking this movie for us. Now, Joe, had you seen Hell or High Water? Had you heard of this movie?
No.
Did you know anything about it?
Nothing. Not a thing.
So I found, and I don't know that this is true, but this was on IMDb. IMDb says the movie features big-name actors, Chris Pine, Jeff Bridges, tested well with audiences. However, the film did not receive a wide release or major publicity as advertisers didn't want to be associated with a film promoting retribution against financial institutions who feed off the working class. And I was like, okay, it kind of makes sense. I don't remember that at all. The movie made a good amount of money. I saw this in theaters. It was nominated for Best Picture Oscar, so I don't know. It's a weird thing where I'm like, I don't remember this controversy at all, but maybe it existed. I don't know.
Wait, it was nominated for a Best Picture Oscar?
It was nominated for a bunch of Oscars. We'll get to that in a second. It's available on Netflix. If you have not seen it, you should, because I think it's great. It is very quickly about a divorced dad and his ex-con brother resort to a desperate scheme in order to save their family's farm in West Texas. Hour 40, you're in and out. Without credits, it's like an hour. It's closer to hour 30. It's wonderfully short and just...
It's tight. I like that. I like that a lot. Not knowing anything about the story, going in completely blind, it doesn't really lay out like what and why they're doing things for a while. So I was a little confused trying to pay attention to that. But otherwise, yeah, the tightness of it, amazing.
What did you think of the movie overall?
It was pretty good. We're coming off a run of watching a ton of heist movies. I thought that there was a lot of things that I liked in it. I thought that it was really pretty. I liked the Texas setting. I do like the plot of them stealing from the banks to pay back the banks to get something that the banks stole from them. So there was things I liked, but, you know, it's hard to compare to some of the other great heist movies we watched so recently.
See, I think this is one of the best movies that we've watched this lap.
Really?
I think this movie
Why?
is fucking incredible. I think it's great. I think it bucks tradition and bucks convention in ways. I think it looks great. I think it's really well acted. The only thing that I have really an issue with is like the Ben Foster kind of going crazy because he goes crazy in a bunch of movies. The real theme, I saw two themes pop up on my Letterboxd friends' reviews of this. Number one is one I tweeted, which were two people just talking about Chris Pine's mustache, because he's got a great mustache in here. But the other thing is that, like, people are just saying that, like, it's amazing. It feels so good to see an adult movie in, like, 2016, because it just felt like by this point, so many people had, like, dumbed things down and, like, movies weren't being made. Like, I think what you're saying about, like, it's kind of confusing, like, they're not really setting things up, blah, 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 or whatever. Like, I think that's just, like, you kind of need to work for it a little bit. Like, it's all there.
Yeah,
but I think that people not being, like, spoon-fed whatever is reassuring to people who, like, see too many things or get jaded by, you know, major releases, and this just works in a way that, like, oh, no, movies can be good. It's just, you know, most kind of aren't. But I think this movie is incredible. This was directed by a guy, David Mackenzie, who directed this Australian prison drama called Starred Up, S-T-A-R-R-E-D, Starred Up, which I think is like Australian slang. Maybe I'm probably going to get this wrong because I'm not going to Google it, but our Australian listeners can write in. But I think it means like you're like a juvenile who gets like bumped up to like adult prison. Like you get starred up to adult prison.
Okay.
This movie is awesome. And whenever we get to, I think we'll do at some point a prison lap, which might be miserable. I don't know. But we're definitely going to do this movie because this movie's great. But he directed that. He's done other things I don't know. But the more notable thing is that it was written by this guy, Taylor Sheridan, who before this had written Sicario. Have you seen Sicario?
I did, but I feel like I watched it like in Zach's basement or something.
I don't know what that means. Does that mean that you were fucked up?
No. It just means that like I watched it in a setting where we were probably like chatting and it wasn't like I was mainly focused on it, is what I'm saying.
Gotcha. Okay. Because Sicario, I think, is also awesome. That's about, you know, the drug trade, and it's got Emily Blunt and Benicio del Toro, and I think Daniel Kaluuya before Get Out. Like, it's really, really good. But he wrote that, then he wrote this, and then the year after this came out, he would write Wind River, which is about, I think it's in Alaska, but it's also another really kind of gritty, hyper-realistic movie like these. And then he wrote Sicario 2, which is not as good but still pretty good. But more of note to the wider public is he's the guy who created and showruns and writes Yellowstone and 1883 and all those shows. So like this guy really
makes sense. Yeah.
blew up in a way. It's like the kind of gritty, hyper realistic that also now is kind of prestige whatever. But like, you know, that has a connection to us because Carter Verone is in Yellowstone, and so this guy, you know, there's kind of like this backdoor Fast and Furious connection there in a way.
Yes.
But yeah, so Oscar nominations: nominated for Best Picture, it lost to Moonlight. Best Supporting Actor, Jeff Bridges, lost to Mahershala Ali in Moonlight.
Okay.
Original Screenplay, lost to Manchester by the Sea. Film editing lost to Hacksaw Ridge. It was nominated for 4. So this must have been before you and Rachel were watching every Best Picture nominee.
No, we did. So I don't know how we missed this one, because we definitely saw Moonlight that year. We definitely saw Hacksaw Ridge. We saw every other thing. We saw Manchester by the Sea. So we saw every other movie in that thing. I don't know how we didn't watch this one, or maybe there's no way I completely don't remember this movie.
I have no idea. I genuinely don't know, because I thought you guys had been doing that for a while. But
yes, that's what I thought too. But that's why when you said it was nominated for all these Oscars, I was like, what year did this come out?
No, 2016 is not that long ago.
No, definitely not.
It was on AFI's top 10 films of the year, and I was like, oh, okay. And then I was like, oh, because it was also nominated for Best Picture. That's not really that surprising, because everybody kind of loved this movie. I was saying, it had a $12 million budget. I didn't mention that, but it made $38 million. So even though it wasn't in a ton of theaters, I saw it in a regular, it wasn't an indie theater. I saw it in a regular kind of mainstream-ish place. It wasn't hard to find. I guess it just didn't get the 3,000, 4,000 screens, whatever. But
Yeah.
There's not a ton of trivia about this, which is kind of a bummer, because it feels with the level, especially with people now, with Taylor Sheridan becoming one of the bigger showrunners or whatever, you would think that more people would be writing about this. It was originally called Comancheria, because there's a lot of things about the Comanches in here.
Okay, yeah.
The only other real trivia about this is a Fast and Furious connection, is that while this movie was being made, Justin Lin was doing Star Trek Beyond, obviously starring Chris Pine.
Yeah.
And so he was only available for 2.5 weeks to do this. So he did all of his scenes in this movie in 2.5 weeks.
That's insane.
Which is crazy. And so they did it in order, which is not very common in filmmaking, but they needed to ramp up the energy and keep the emotions going. And so I guess they did all the Jeff Bridges stuff separately, because there's basically 2 paths we're following, again, kind of cops and criminals. But I guess they just did all of his stuff quickly in a row, which works, because he's great in this movie, but I can't imagine the time crunch there.
Yeah, that sounds insane to me. I mean, I obviously have no real scope of how movies work, but trying to get anything done in 2 weeks is very ambitious. So good for them, man. It didn't feel like it, didn't look like it. I didn't feel like it suffered any because of that, so that's cool.
Yeah, it's crazy that this took 2.5 weeks to Chris Pine. I don't know how long the whole shooting took, but it took 2.5 weeks for Chris Pine to do his parts, or them to do all his parts. And again, we were saying earlier, it's not a 3-hour-long movie. It's not that long, but still to do half of this movie, 45 minutes or an hour or whatever of scripted stuff, plus all the other takes and whatever in 2.5 weeks is crazy. It's wild.
Yep.
Even more wild, while recording, someone just knocked on our door, came in with us unexpectedly. Fan favorite, Garrett Smith. Hello, Garrett.
Hello. I'm happy to be here. Happy to be back.
Welcome back. We just had you on about a month ago for No Man's Land. I was saying to you that we had a guest tonight, but he had to back out. And instead of just me and Joe talking about this movie, I knew that you love this movie. So you are here. Welcome, welcome.
I do. Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here.
We've not really dived into the movie. We just talked some trivia about this. The thing I was trying to figure out is that I read this thing on IMDb about how this didn't get a wide release because people, advertisers didn't want to support a thing that was basically taking down banks for scamming customers. But I don't remember that. Do you remember any of that? And when did you see this movie in theaters or no?
I did see this in theaters to my memory,
yeah.
And I do not remember that at all. Now,
it's weird, right?
I live in Philadelphia, so, even if things don't get a wide release, I usually still get them. So my radar for what is actually wide or not is maybe not the best, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes
sure,
sense.
Yeah.
But I don't remember there being any controversy about that. I mean, it is one of the very interesting aspects of this movie, I think, especially since I don't know a ton about Taylor Sheridan, but I get the impression he might walk a very middle ground on politics that some people, because it's a middle ground, might call conservative. I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that the buzz around Yellowstone, especially with Kevin Costner in the lead, it just feels kind of Republican-y.
Right. I mean, he makes movies for dads, for sure, right?
Yes. Yeah.
But these movies are for cool dads.
Yeah, I mean, I watched this recently because I showed it to my dad. I was like, oh, my dad would love this movie. It is essentially a modern Western. And he did. He absolutely loved it. He makes stuff for dads. And
have you also seen? I'm assuming, have you seen Sicario and Wind River?
So I have. I actually am the world's biggest hater of Sicario. I do not like
really?
Sicario. I like all of the other movies Denis Villeneuve has made. I like all of the other Taylor Sheridan things that I have seen, including Wind River. But for Sicario, doesn't do anything for me. I hate that night vision sequence that everybody loves. I think that's ugly trash. I don't like that movie.
You don't even like the crossing the border scene?
That is good, but that also is one of those scenes where I don't know how to say this other than, especially because this is one of the things I like about his movies, but that feels so campy not campy's the wrong word, but like that feels so heightened in a movie that to some extent is trying to, I think, speak to the actual... That movie is the reason Trump is afraid that people are crossing the border, right? And it's because of scenes like that, where I'm like, I don't think that has ever actually happened. I don't know that it will in that particular way, in that particular place. It seems like a big kind of like, I want to scare some red-blooded Americans kind of scene. You know what I mean?
Joe, there's a scene that's basically they're crossing over the border from either from Mexico into the U.S. or into, I think it's from Mexico into the U.S. and they're like stuck in traffic, and it's kind of like at the end of Den of Thieves, where they're like, all right, we're gonna do this shootout. I guess this is where it's gonna happen.
Shoot our way
there's just like this
the border.
Brutal shootout there, and like I think it's awesome.
It is awesome.
See, it's pulpy. Like you're
pulpy,
right. It's pulpy
that's
in a
the
way
right
that, like,
word.
the rest of the movie is kind of like very grounded and hyper realistic.
Yeah, that addition, that injection of pulp at the end of that movie, when that movie does feel a bit like a polemic to me. That feels disingenuous and almost like propagandic in some kind of way. I think I'm making up words as I'm talking here. I apologize.
So this movie came out 6 years ago. We were talking about it. Joe liked it, but didn't really love it. I loved it. I think it's great. But Joe, like, what were you hoping for? Or like, do you think this suffered just from having watched some of the other things recently that you liked more? Like, do you think if you had watched this like standalone, you would have liked it more or less?
That's exactly what I think was happening, and what I was alluding to earlier is that, like, I think that it's just because we've seen so many interesting, old, classic, beautiful heist movies that this one is definitely good, but I was just like, it had an uphill battle from the beginning is more so what I felt like to me. Like, I think Chris Pine did a great job. I like the robbing from a bank to pay back a bank to get something the bank stole from you situation. Like, that was really interesting. But otherwise, they're like, the robberies that they're doing aren't really like the heist part of it, almost, because they're robbing like banks with like one or two people inside them, right? So they don't feel like the stakes are very high. Like, you think that like two guys robbing a bank with two people, when like one of them's like a female teller and an old guy inside, that feels like they're just going to accomplish it, right?
Well, I think that's the point. Like, because Chris Pine's not a criminal. He's a criminal because what he's doing, but like, he doesn't want to steal money to steal money. He wants to steal money because the bank is foreclosing on this, like, the bank, fucked over his mom.
Yes, yeah.
And he wants to right that wrong.
Agreed.
But there's also the added element here that I think, like, maybe they could explore a little bit more, but also maybe not. But like, there's the whole Comanche thing, and like the land that was stolen from them by the bank is also stolen from the Comanches originally. And
yes.
So like, there's like the reclaiming of stolen land that was originally stolen, or there's like
an extra layer that doesn't get unpeeled. Yeah.
It does, though, kind of.
Yeah, I actually really like this about this movie. You have the Jeff Bridges character and his partner, and they have this like very kind of contentious relationship, but it seems based in a long partnership, and so there's some like love there or whatever. But they are calling out. They want the audience thinking about the difference between the white man and the native man, right? Mm-hmm. They want the audience thinking about those things. So then the plot of the movie is about how these white guys are having their land stolen from them by the bank. And what that does is put these white guys in the position that the natives were in when cowboy movies originally took place, right? Cowboys were taking their land, and now their land is being taken from them. And so it's like it's recontextualizing the old cowboy movie into modern America, and it's doing that by sort of, I think it's like helping, in my opinion, like, I like this movie because it makes me go like, oh, to some extent it's framing it's framing my plight for me in a way that helps me understand a different person's plight, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely.
And I kind of like the parallels it's drawing in that way, and I really like that it's set against the bank crisis because it puts a power structure in place. It's discussing a power structure, right? And we were the power structure that overtook this land that we then built a power structure on top of that is taking it from us now, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of what this movie is built on is like fuck banks, hands
Yep.
off my money.
Yep.
Like the Katie Mixon scene where she's the waitress
I love that
from
scene, dude.
Eastbound and Down.
Yeah.
Yep.
But she's just like, I'm not giving you that money without a warrant.
Yep.
You can come back here if you have a warrant, but like until then, fuck off. Like that's half my mortgage. You're not going to take that money. Like it's not my fault that they're bank robbers. Like they gave me the money. Like that's that's your problem, not mine.
I love that like 50% of that is that Chris Pine is good looking, right? And so that like gets the conversation going, that like blah, 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 right? But the other 50% is he treats her really well and gives her a really nice tip, and she's not going to go for the cops over that, right?
Yep.
The guy that was nice and gave her a good tip is better than the authority that is coming to sort of like figure the rest of this out or whatever, right?
Well, I think there's something interesting here, like about the like unclear politics, where it's like, fuck cops, yes, but also like small town, like I can take care of, like it's like vigilante justice. Like there is kind of murkiness.
Yes.
It's like it's almost apolitical in being so political. And I
agree.
don't know where it lands.
I kind of agree, actually. I do think that's why this movie really works. I think works better than any of the other Sheridan movies I've seen, because it exists in that murky territory without me having to feel like, well, this is murky because it's kind of like dumb or bad politics, if that makes sense.
Right? Yeah. We have there's the three main dudes here. We got Chris Pine, aka the Good Chris. We've got Jeff Bridges, who's great, and we got Ben Foster. We also have these three sort of secondary women who I also love, all three of them. Katie Mixon, obviously great from Eastbound and Down. Amber Midthunder, who was great in Legion, but also most recently the lead in Prey, which rules, as the one-scene bank teller that he robs across the street from the diner. And then Chris Pine's ex-wife is played by Marin Ireland, who I love because she's the lead in Sparrow's Dance, which is this tiny little indie movie that I absolutely adore.
I've never even heard of that,
and
Joey. I'll look that up.
She's so good in that. But this movie, just like, there's not that many pieces at play here. There's also the guy who plays Alberto Parker. That actor's name is Gil Birmingham. Joe, did you recognize Jeff Bridges' partner in this?
That's Mr. Billy Black, Jacob's dad from Twilight.
Yes.
Okay, got it. Yes. Okay, I actually
He's
did not
been in a
put that
bunch of
together.
things.
Yeah.
But yeah, most notably for the general public, this guy plays Jacob's dad, which is, all right, cool, man.
Yeah.
Like, get that money.
Yeah, he's very good in this movie, I think.
He's excellent.
He's got a very unforgiving role, I think. Like I if somebody told me they thought this movie was like highly offensive because of the Jeff Bridges character, I wouldn't be able to like argue with them. You know what I mean?
Well, like, what's weird about that is, like, yeah, he's making fun of him for being half Mexican, half Comanche, but also, like, the movie's not saying Jeff Bridges is a good guy. Like, Jeff Bridges also knows what he's doing is wrong.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like, it's not like, hey, look at all these funny jokes. It's like, this guy's being a dick, and he knows he's being a dick, and, like, his partner doesn't deserve that. It's a very weird, like, funny, it feels realistic, but it's also like, I don't know how I'm supposed to feel about this.
Yeah. Oh, I also want to correct myself mid-conversation. I was saying native before, and I should be saying indigenous person. I just realized, yes.
Mm-hmm. What I love, Joe, before Garrett said, like, what I love that I said was, like, that this movie kind of subverts conventions is that, like, Jeff Bridges, a couple times in this movie, like, he's going to retire in 3 weeks, and his partner's just like, just get out of here, man. Like, I don't want you here. You don't want to be here.
Yeah.
Just go do something. And, like, that's very clearly, like, last day before retirement, and the cop gets killed, but, like, he makes it through. Like, and it's, spoiler alert, Alberto, Jacob's dad, who gets killed. Like, he's not the one who should die in this. He gets killed, though. Or other movies would have Chris Pine at the end of the movie miss the window to pay off the lien on his house.
Also
but he gets
true.
there. He's like, no, I'm not leaving until you do this, because I know you're going to try to fuck me over. I got nowhere to be. And I feel like it's just, like, smart in those ways that you're expecting, like, obstacles or drama or whatever. And, like, it doesn't do that. Like, it feels real, but it feels real in a way that, like, other movies... Like, it feels believable, but it feels real in a way that movies don't usually do, and I love that about this.
I agree, and I like all these points. You guys are definitely working to make me enjoy this movie deeper than I did on the surface there. When I was watching it, one of the things that I felt was most real was, like, why don't movies show us people laundering money through casinos more?
And also, like, this movie explains why you can do that or how you can do that, right? Like, it's crazy. Like, it's just like when we did To Live and Die in LA, it's like, oh, this is how to counterfeit money. This is like, oh, this is how to clean money.
Yeah, it's like it actually gives you what seems like a pretty process you probably could use to do it, right? Like, it gives you almost a step-by-step, like, this seems like it would work.
It seems like 100% would work. Like, you go, you cash it all in, you get chips, you go sit at the bar for an hour, you, like, gamble, like, $1,000 of it,
Yep.
And like you're either up or you're down, and then you like cash it all back out, and they give you new clean bills that are totally different than the ones you just had. So like, good for you.
And they go to the bank, and the guy's like sort of the shady banker is just like, yeah, and there's no way that they can trace this if you clean it through the casino. Like, I don't know if this is real or not, but it feels real in a way that like,
right.
Oh yeah, if you want to clean money at the casino, yeah, go for it.
Also, I think I'm glad you brought this up, Joe, because this is one of my favorite images in the whole movie. It stuck with me the first time I saw it, and it hit me even harder the second time I saw it. Spoiler for the movie, but when Chris Pine is sitting alone with a pile of chips that are now the only thing left of his brother's life is one of the saddest images I've seen in a movie that I think is like such a powerful image because this movie is about like the crumbling of modern America, right? And you end up with this guy who is just trying to keep his fucking house from the bank. And all of it amounts to his brother's life is now a pile of fucking poker chips. That's what it amounted to. That's what it's worth. That is such a crazy powerful image, I think.
And what I also like about like the sort of subversion is like Ben Foster is like the wild card, and you think that like he's going to get them caught or whatever in the end, but like he sacrifices himself. Like he's a good guy at heart in a way that like this kind of character who is kind of annoying. And I think that there's some things I was saying before. I saw on Letterboxd that people did not like the crazy Ben Foster being crazy Ben Foster again.
Yeah.
But I feel like he redeems himself in a way this type of character does not often get to do.
Well,
which is really cool. Like they're getting chased, and the guys, like, all right, we're gonna go our separate ways. You go do the thing. You save the house. Finish the job we set out to do. I'm gonna buy you time. And he knows he's not coming back from that, and he's gonna go like suicide by cop basically, and that's exactly what happens. But it's, the ending is sad, but it's also like the chips could also be like, we did it. Like he was successful. Like it's sad that like his brother's gone, but like they were successful in saving the house and like getting back on the bank.
Yeah, that's an interesting point, actually, like a sort of different view of that same image, which is really cool that you could sort of like flip it that way and think about it that way too. Yeah, that's really interesting.
Joe, have you ever seen like one heist element, and it's not necessarily a heist, but just like a criminal element that I've never seen in another movie that I loved here and I forgot until I saw them pull up to the ranch. I was like, oh, right. Burying the cars to get rid of them.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no, but I really did like that, and I think it's also a very, very smart idea. It reminded me that, I forget what I was watching, but it was like one of these like shows on the History Channel, and they wanted to like dig up and see if they could find something. And they're in Texas, and the guy's like, I think that whatever this thing is here, right? Like, and it's on this guy's land, and he's like, okay, like, can we dig it up? And he's like, yeah. And he's like, okay, do we have to get a permit? And he's like, this is Texas, buddy. Like, if you want to dig a hole, you dig a hole. And I was like, yep, that's like the first thing I thought. Like, nobody's asking any questions about you digging a giant hole in the middle of your farm in Texas. Like, they just don't care. Don't look, don't ask. Nobody cares. So I was like, that probably absolutely works and is an awesome way to do it.
Because like other movies have gotten rid of cars, like Pulp Fiction and stuff, where you like bring it to like a compactor, like a junkyard, and they'll like crush the car.
Oh, chop shop.
Just like that's just straight up burying a car in a field, which is like, all right, good luck. Like it's all dirt. Like go look for it.
It's always how it happens. They take them to the junkyard, and you watch them fucking pick it up on the crane and crumble it, and then they find the car a week later in every movie that's like that. It's it's like, I don't know if that's a good solution. Burying the car actually seems like a better solution to me.
Yeah, like you need some things, like you need a backhoe and you need like space, but like they're not burying dozens of cars. Right, like they're basically robbing, like, they don't say, but like 6 or 7 banks to get like the 40 grand, right? Like that's all they need. Yeah. They need like a couple cars, like one a day, and then they're done. Like it seems manageable.
Yeah. And Joe, I think like a little bit to your point, I know you were saying this movie didn't like totally work for you. I do think it's like an interesting tone and pace because it is like a quiet thriller. Like it is a thriller. It builds to a big shootout, and I don't think you could argue that like the plot of them like hitting bank after bank after bank over a week or whatever is not like meant to be like thrilling, but it's very quiet and it takes its time, and it's sort of paced almost lugubriously, like almost slow, but I think that's meant to mimic life in Texas, right? In these Texas towns where things are just a little bit slower. I think we're sort of they're bringing us into the world of this movie by having the pace kind of match what I think the pace of life is in this area. It seems to me.
Yeah, because You're right, because like Jeff Bridges doesn't like he like picks a bank and he's like, we're just gonna like stay across the street and just
Yeah.
watch.
Yes.
Like he's not like chasing them around. Like he's like they'll come to me and like he sits outside and like they talk about like the town is slow, the life is slow. There's only one restaurant, all these things. Because I'm so used to how fast a lot of the other ones were going, I didn't appreciate the slowness of this as much as I could have.
Well, I think that also like Jeff Bridges' character, like it's kind of a different way of doing things. Like this is a movie that does not exist, and he's a kind of cop that doesn't exist. Like I don't check my phone while I'm driving. I don't check the radio while I'm driving. Like he's just an old school dude, and not in a way that's like he seems outdated because he knows what's going on. Like he's able to deduce like where they're going. He's like, I knew it. This is what they're doing. Blah blah blah. But it feels like, no, this is a different kind of thing. Like you kind of have to like not really work at it, but just be patient with it and know that it's going to pay off. Which like I guess when you're going to a movie blind, if you don't know who wrote or directed it, like it might be hard to do. But like I remember being excited for this because I love Sicario so much. I'm like, okay, so this guy knows how to tell a story.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm gonna like just like sit back and like let him take me where it goes, and I was rewarded for that. But I feel like if you're like, I don't know, like this movie might not pay off, or what, I mean, assuming a movie we're watching, although Alex picked it, it might be a shit movie. Who knows? But
No.
Generally, I mean, no, he's intentionally picked shit movies for us before. That's what I'm saying. He made us watch The Bad Red Line. He made us watch all sorts of different stuff. But generally, what we're doing in here is going to be good. So
I did though enjoy how the ending played out.
I was just going to ask what you guys thought of the ending. Okay, yeah, this is great. Let's talk about this.
Yeah, like I think the payoff was good, and I did enjoy it a lot because of the reasons that you guys said. That like it felt realistic. That, like because the guy, the weird lawyer, like the kind of shady lawyer, is like, what you should do is like go put that trust that you're trying to put this into the same fucking bank, because then the bank's not gonna want to get rid of you to get rid of the trust to get rid of the oil. Like, you know what I mean? Like you can like quadruple fuck them if you do that. And like I like
so
that
clever,
play.
isn't it? Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, and it feels like not only has he stolen all of this money just to pay the bank, like he's paying the bank back with its own money basically, and he's putting them in a position where they're just never going to like do anything about that. It's like,
and they're going to profit on it because like they're running the trust, right?
Yep. It's so cool.
And like that's why like at the end they're like, this doesn't add up. Like his brother was a criminal, sure, that makes sense. But like this guy, he's gonna make $50,000 a month or whatever. He's gonna steal $40,000. He's gonna like put it back in the bank that like he's stealing from. Like this doesn't add up. It's like, yeah, that's kind of the point. Like it's why it rules.
Right.
Yeah.
And what do you guys think of the kind of see, I love this, Joe. This is like exactly what we're talking about. There is a standoff at the very end of this movie, but it is the quietest standoff of any movie. It is just Jeff Bridges coming to the house and being like, look, I think I know what happened. And Chris Pine being like, yeah, maybe you do. And then just having to stare at each other and be like, all right, so this is what we're doing for the next decade, huh? Just staring each other down while we figure out who's going to figure what out first.
And he's like offers to tell him, and he's like, no, I think I got enough of it. Like, and he's like, no, but I'll tell you the rest. And he's like, no, I'm good. I think I'm okay.
Yeah. I love that ending.
So what's actually kind of cool is that when I was looking for a quote, because there are a couple quotes in here that I really liked, and I couldn't, like, weren't on, like, IMDb quotes are either, like, real hit or miss. Like, they're either great or they're terrible. There's a line where I think it's Jeff Bridges talking to
Billy Black.
Yeah, Gil Birmingham. And he says, sure seems foolish. The days of robbing banks and living to spend the money's long gone, ain't they? Long gone for sure. I'm like, that's just such a cool thing. So anyway, like I'm looking for that quote online, and I found the screenplay, which is very cool. And like what's really nice about at the end there, which I think you're right, like this is how it's gonna be happening or whatever. It's just like it's so simply said here, like, I'll be seeing you. He says, soon I hope. Toby, soon I hope. I'm ready to be done with this. Marcus, you'll never be done with it, no matter what. That's the price. It's going to haunt you, son, for the rest of your days. Marcus looks up to the sky, letting the autumn sun bathe his face. But you won't be alone, Marcus says. It's going to haunt me, too. Toby says, when you come by, maybe I'll give you peace. Marcus smiles. Maybe, Marcus says. Maybe I'll give it to you. Toby says, I'd like that. Till that day. Marcus looks at the sad, simple man and smiles, tips his hat, turns and walks up the dirt road. The camera rises and looks down on them. The house is gray, faded shingles, and Marcus's silver hat standing out from the red dirt that surrounds them. And it's just like, they're on there, but it's not even about, like, getting away with it or solving the crime. Like, they both know that the other one knows. It's like,
Yep.
you have to live with the fact that, like, yeah, you got away with it, but your brother is dead
Yep.
from this.
Yep.
And you
it's
killed
just the
people.
guilt.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. But
Which he didn't want to do, but still the blood is on his hands.
Right. He-
And, like, it's just so simply laid out there. Like, we know, I'm going to smile, I'm going to walk away, but, like, you're going to live with that guilt. And, like, I might not be the one that catches you. Like, you might turn yourself in because that guilt is going to be overwhelming at some point. Like, it's never going to go away.
Yeah.
For a movie that kind of glorifies crime, it's like, yeah, crime's also, it's going to sit with you, right? So
I mean, you got what you wanted out of this. You got your house back. You got your property. And now you get to live out the rest of your days in, like, awful extreme guilt on that property, right? It's like you don't actually get there is no happy ending to that, really.
Yep.
I wrote down a quote from this movie that I really, really love that I would like to share with you. I think that this is a Chris Pine line. He says, "I've been poor my whole life. So were my parents, their parents before them. It's like a disease passing from generation to generation. Becomes a sickness. That's what it is. Infects every person you know." I think that is one of the greatest encapsulations of, like, kind of like modern American life as I've known it, right? Like, this is not... When I say this, I didn't grow up in Texas, right? This is not the America that I grew up in. The America that's depicted here, I didn't grow up in it. But the feeling of this movie and the things this movie are talking about, this kind of generational... People end up being poor generationally, right? It just it goes on and on and on. And it even... he says it infects other people, right? He's not just saying, like, hey, it's not just my family. It's like, almost by being associated with me, you could become poor as well, right? Like, that's how things work in America. And it's like, this isn't the America I grew up in, but it is. Like, I did live through the crisis in 2008. Like, this is the America that I grew up in. I didn't grow up in this place in America, but this kind of crumbling infrastructure that they live around, where everybody is just getting worse off and worse off generation by generation.
Yep.
That's me and everybody I know.
Yeah.
You know?
And there's, like, no way out, and, like, the only way he can get out is by robbing banks and then selling oil, which, like, they refer to this too, that they're like, nobody's buying oil or something, and they're like, well, they're still drilling for it, and like, that's also fucked. So yeah.
Because there is the whole, like, I do think that, like, and I'm going to clarify this, or, like, add the catch to this, but, like, I do think that it is possible in this country to go from nothing and make it as a success. However, it is infinitely easier if your parents are wealthy and have connections and are able to open the door for you. It's like, okay, cool. Like, I was able to, like, get a good enough grades, like me personally, to get a free ride to college. But, like, past that, I'm just like, I don't know anybody. Like, I don't, like, everything beyond that's just, again, still on my own, right? So, like, I'm not saddled with this, like, systemic debt that so many kids are fucked by. But, like, I can't do anything. Like, I don't have, like, these, like, millionaire parents who can get me in the door of whatever. Like, everything's still on my own.
Internships.
Whereas, like, yeah, you can have, like, some, like, some wealthy dude's, like, burnout son just, like, gets a better job because, like, his daddy is owed a favor or something.
Yep.
It's like, well, fuck.
Yeah, I mean, this is not to discredit, and hopefully I'm not offending you guys by saying this, but, like, people that are able to rise to sort of, like, an upper middle class, right? People that are able to, through education and hard work and stuff, like climb up that middle class, right? But I don't know that there's any getting out of that middle class without either some turn of fame or what you just said, Joey, like nepotism of some kind, right? I don't know that that's possible. Like, we rewatched Us recently, and my favorite image in Us is the escalator that goes down, but there is no escalator that goes up. You only ever see the escalator that goes down. That's America. Right. The escalator only goes down. It does not come back up. It is so easy to go down and keep going down and go further and further down. It is almost impossible to get back up.
Right. Yeah. It sucks.
Yeah, and I think this movie is a great encapsulation of that. This feels like the great modern American Western to me.
So I think that now you guys are pointing out that me watching it as a heist movie, specifically as a heist movie, is part of the reason why I wasn't as hype on it, because I really like all of this conversation and like all of these ideas that we're talking about here. And yes, like, but I was watching it as just robbing banks, but like the undertones, yes, do make this much better.
I mean, it is a heist movie though. I think
It
as a heist
is.
movie, it's a great heist movie. But I also think it's about robbing America and America robbing you. Like it's a bigger
Yeah.
thing. But I think also like other heist movies are about that too. Like,
Yeah, that's true.
Bank robbers are trying to aspire to something great. Like they're not just like, you know, there might just be scumbags or whatever, but it's about like the system and like trying to buck the system. This is just more in your face about that.
Yeah, but Joe, I do think I hear what you're saying, that potentially the very specific and particular context you came to this with might have altered your experience with it a little bit, because I don't think you could say it's not a heist movie, but I don't know that like if somebody was like, hey, give me like your 5 best heist movies, this wouldn't be among them, even though I might think it's a better movie than most of them, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yep. We're on the same
Well, I
page.
think, Joe, it's the same kind of issue we run into with like Zac Efron or Channing Tatum or Gosling, or like when Mike and I are doing Cage or Keanu or whatever. It's like, okay, I'm watching this movie as a Keanu movie, but it's like, you shouldn't do that. Like,
Yeah,
it's like-
exactly.
Like we watched, War of the Worlds for Channing Tatum, and he's not even in the movie. So the whole movie we're like not really paying attention to the movie. We're like, where's Channing? And they're like, oh no, he was in that church in the beginning that got attacked, and he was cut out of a scene or whatever. But
That's
it's like
hilarious.
you're watching things for the wrong reason. Like you can still
Yep.
appreciate the
Yep.
movie, but it's like the context. So yeah, watching it like as like a great heist movie might not work. I think it still works as a great heist movie, but I think it's right to be, or allowable. I'm giving you permission
Thank you, sir.
to be a little disappointed by the fact that like, yeah, it's not as a heist movie, it's not Heat, but it's also like I think it's as good a movie as Heat in a totally different way.
It's like this movie's like Humidity. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, that's enough. Thank you, Garrett.
Main
Your
main
time here
feed
is
fan
done.
fave, Garrett Smith.
Just
thank you.
mic drop.
Anything else? Any other notes to say? Anything else to share about this movie before we watch the trailer?
I think
No,
got it all in
I'm
the system.
turning on it, and now you guys are making me think about it, and I'm gonna sit with this a lot more. I really do like the context of like, we're taking the land from indigenous peoples, and the indigenous peoples were who were taking the land from.
Yeah.
Like that thing too. So yeah, I'm gonna sit here and process more of this movie.
I love it.
Garrett?
That's great. No, I got no further thoughts. I'm happy that through a little bit of conversation we were able to maybe get you enjoying it a little more, or seeing a little more in it.
Definitely. That's why I like talking about stuff like this with you guys. Sometimes, like, Joey and I will watch, like, a new movie, and he'll be like, I really love this, and I'll be like, I didn't like it at all. And then I'll be like, well, what did I miss? You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like, what am I not getting about this that you really enjoy? And I think that this is one of those that, like, now I'm turning through it and being like, oh, and, like, inspired to give it a rewatch sometime soon to be like, yeah, let me think through this again.
It's definitely worth checking out again at some point.
I would also say watch Sicario and watch Wind River. Like Wind River, I think is closer in spirit to this.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Wind River is like basically, it's not this, but like it's the winter version of this
Yeah,
in a way.
yeah.
Sicario is a different movie, but I think they're all great. I think this is the best of the three, but I think all three of them are great.
Has he
and I
done
think you
anything
can't go wrong.
outside of TV other than those 3 movies, or is that the whole Tyler Sheridan universe?
Taylor Sheridan.
Taylor.
number
I
one.
keep calling him Tyler. Yeah, sorry.
How disrespectful. In terms of like writing movies, he wrote Sicario 2, Day of the Soldado. He wrote and directed Those Who Wish Me Dead, that Angelina Jolie movie that came out last year that I did not see. I wanted to see, but like kind of got like middling reviews. He did that Tom Clancy. He wrote the Tom Clancy's Without Remorse movie starring Michael B. Jordan, apparently.
Okay.
That
Okay.
wasn't very good. It is weird, though. It feels like he might be trying to stray from his... Like, his genre is basically, like, gritty neo-Western, kind of.
Yes.
And, like, that's why... Like, it just makes sense that he would do Yellowstone.
Oh, yeah.
And, like, enough reason for me to want to go back and try more Yellowstone because, like...
I need to try it too. Yeah,
Well, that's like
I
a
agree.
whole universe now, right? They got spin-off
Yes.
shows and everything. And my understanding is that like he took money he made on these movies that he wrote that did very well and bought a ranch that is now where they shoot all those shows. So like he basically like bought a bunch of property and was like, I would love to live, out on the American West or whatever. And also it will be the production home for an entire universe of TV that will continue generating me money forever. You know what I mean?
I think he also came from acting. Like, I did not see Sons of Anarchy, but he played David Hale on Sons of Anarchy, and like his bio on Letterboxd says he's best known for that. So
Yeah, I think you're right.
Interesting.
like these movies are not huge. Like Yellowstone is obviously it's like
Enormous,
infinitely bigger
yeah.
than these 3 movies combined,
Yes.
right? But like Sons of Anarchy also huge. So
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. All right, let's watch the trailer. Hell or High Water official trailer HD, posted by CBS Films. This is new. I mean, it makes sense, but I don't think we've had a CBS Films before.
Yeah, when I put it on Netflix, it came up and it said CBS Films, and I was like, that feels very strange to me.
That is strange.
It's a movie for dads, man.
You're right.
Yes.
Yeah.
6 million views, almost 7 million views, posted in May of 2016. Are you guys both ready?
I'm ready.
3, 2, 1, play. Oh, the other note, this just jumps right into the trailer. The first thing I wrote down, Ben Foster says, "You're turning out to be a poor-ass criminal," which I thought was a very funny line.
Yes, yeah.
The bank loan just enough to keep your mama poor.
Also, you were talking about how some people don't like Ben Foster in this movie, and I think he's terrific in this movie, and I hope that he takes us in the spirit I mean it, but, like, if you're hiring Ben Foster, this is what you hire him for. Like, I don't know why you'd want him to do something other than this,
I thought he was great in it. I was totally fine with it. Like, but I don't mind people being typecast if they play the role great. So, like, why not?
He is terrific as this kind of, like almost psychopathic loose cannon,
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if you guys have seen Alpha Dog. He's great in that in a
No,
similar
I was
type
just
role.
talking about Alpha Dog last night.
Was that the, like, Justin Timberlake one?
You are correct.
You may get to have some
I never
Timberlake
saw it,
has
but
a
I remember
hilarious
that.
line delivery in that movie.
may have one hunt left in me.
Oh, man.
I love
This is
that,
just
too.
making me want to watch this movie again. I just watched it like a month ago.
Bank breathing down her neck.
Terrific photography in this movie, too. It's a really good-looking
The
movie.
cinematography is great. I absolutely agree. Framing, shots, coloring, everything about that is awesome.
Yeah.
Been difficult.
Ben Foster's funny, man.
Boys know exactly what they're doing. They're trying to raise a certain amount, that's my guess.
I also like that, like, Jeff Bridges, as he ages, just sounds like he's got, like, a bag of marbles in his mouth that he's trying to, like,
yeah.
talk around.
Oh, yeah.
More down it.
He definitely feels like his cheeks are full. Like he got, like, two. Yeah, I agree.
You want a little advice?
Sounds like an aging hamster.
You know, you thought Black man couldn't get away with this.
Oh, we were talking about Alpha Dog because of Ben Foster, and because he says my Bob, who How to Win the Lottery, was saying that he thinks he overacts too much. That the worst is in Alpha Dog.
Oh, see, Alpha Dog. So, okay, I grew up with Ben Foster on a Disney show that I loved called Flash Forward.
Oh, okay.
Him and a girl were like the co-stars of this like Disney show that I really liked. And so then I didn't see him again until Alpha Dog, and I was like, you got to be kidding me. This like Disney kid that was like so fun and funny is just like a psycho in this movie. And I think he's great in that movie, and that is like the energy that he brings to most movies since.
All right, cool.
Love you too.
Yeah, man, this trailer's great.
Yeah, the trailer's good. The trailer's really good. It's selling it really, really well.
Yeah.
It's also not super. I mean, I don't know that you can really spoil the movie because the movie is like it's more.
It's
It's
a
a
vibe,
ride.
man.
Yeah, it's just a vibe, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, David Mackenzie directed this, right?
Have you seen Starred Up?
I have not seen Startup, and I have heard good things about Startup.
Yeah, it's great. When I was saying to Joe before you got here that when we do a prison lap at some point, we'll do Startup because Startup is great. That also has. So I was joking, sort of, that this is the good Chris. I think it's the good Jeff because I like Bridges more than Daniels. But it's also kind of it's got the bad. Even though I don't really mean it, the bad Ben, because I love Ben Mendelsohn so much, and Ben Mendelsohn is the star of Starred Up. So just kind of working with a couple of big Bens. So
Interesting. Yeah. Oh, and he made
But
that
not the
movie
clock.
Outlaw King with Chris Pine as well, which was was it a Netflix movie maybe? Yeah, I think so.
Outlaw King.
Yeah, this was a Netflix movie that I think just came and went,
Oh,
and
yeah,
I mostly
never
heard
saw
good things
this,
about.
yeah.
But yeah,
He's one of the directors of Under the Banner of Heaven, that new Andrew Garfield show based on the book that's on
okay.
Hulu.
okay.
So
okay.
he's still
Interesting.
doing good stuff. It's just, few and far between. All right. The Letterbox game. So for reference sake, Mad Max Fury Road has been seen by 1.2 million people. 1.157. That rounds up to 1.2. Hell or High Water 2016, directed by David Mackenzie, starring Jeff Bridges, Chris Pine, Ben Foster, and Gil Birmingham, has been seen by how many people?
Okay,
It's gonna be a shitload.
No, I know better now.
It
I
was an
guess
Oscar. No, but it was an Oscar nom, and it was a selection at Con. And this is Letterboxd, so I think that it's gonna be really high. I'm gonna start what I think is low and go 250,000.
No, see,
I'm just going to stop you there. Garrett, I'm sorry. It's 257. I don't know how Joe
How did
gets
you do
close
that?
this time, but
Joe just talked me
257,000
through the whole
people.
thing, and he nailed it. I feel like that rationale made sense, and he nailed it. That's amazing.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, but sometimes Joe's rationale makes sense, and he's like in
Way
order
off,
of magnitude off. Like it doesn't make any sense. Like his thought process is usually really good. It's just that like it doesn't always directly correlate to the guess.
Well, last time I was on the show, I guess like 300K, and Joe was like, "You're nuts," and he was right. And so I was like, "Okay, I got to really."
So what were you gonna guess?
I was gonna guess 100K, and it was based on his rationale. I was gonna guess like even lower than 100K based on how wildly high I was last time I was on the show. And then as Joe started talking, I was like, "No, he's right. He's right. Okay, I gotta go." It does have to be in the like. It must be like the hundreds of Ks. You know what I mean? So I was just gonna start there.
Okay, so then the follow-up, the harder one maybe. It's all insane. I wouldn't be good at this game. How many have this in their top 4?
Oh, okay. Do you think this would be relatively low ultimately, Joe, even despite all the things you just said? I feel like probably. You don't think so?
No, I think that I bet a ton of people like Sicario. 250,000 is a high number, and again, the like actual success. People do like Chris Pine, so I would go probably like I would start close to like 100. I think maybe 100 people would have it. In
and
their top.
Garrett, as a rule of thumb, which you might have heard us say on, because we don't say it on every episode, but like usually it's either like 1% or 1/10%. So like if it's 258,000 people, like 258 is like a lot.
Would be a lot.
Like,
okay.
Proportionally, because it's just like, that's like really strong representation, but like that means that like 1/10% of the people who have seen this have this in the top 4.
You also kind of have to factor in how new it is, because like a lot of people will always add a new movie in. So like this is newer but not super new. So probably fell out of a bunch.
So Jay, you said 100?
Yeah. So I like Joe's guess a lot, but I'm gonna try just to have it be a different guess. I'll stick with my initial instinct that maybe it would be low anyway. And so let's say 40.
You're both way too low.
Wow. Okay.
So 200.
Okay. I'll just go 150.
Still both way too low.
Wow.
One more guess.
385. 385, and that's my final offer.
All right. Well, I'll just be wild then. What if it's 450?
You're both still too low. The answer is 684
That's
people
insane.
have this in their top 4. This movie is great. People love the good Chris. People love Taylor Sheridan.
That's wild to me, especially after everything you just explained. So that means like 2% of the people that watch this like
No,
it?
not 2%. It's like 0.2%. But yeah, it's still very high.
Yeah.
It's top 4, man. You get 4 picks, and this is a 7, 8-year-old movie. Like, that's bananas to me.
Okay,
that's a really, really high number.
All right, now I'm excited to play the next part of the game, though, because I'm like, all right, what is in somebody else's top 4 that puts this in their top 4? Because I would have bet you any money that this would not be in that many people's top 4s. So
we're going to Jacob Hampton at Jacob Hampton, who rewatches. I think he did this a bunch. Maybe there's the other one. I pulled 2, but this is the one we're going to go with. This movie really makes me want to say, quote, they don't make them like this anymore, but it's barely 3 years old. He wrote this in 2019.
Okay.
So 5 stars.
Okay. All right. I like it.
Jacob Hampton's number 4 favorite movie of all time is Hell or High Water. He just saw it last night, just like I did, Bodies, Bodies, Bodies.
Oh.
Also gave it 4 stars. Shout out to Jacob.
Did you like that movie, Joey?
I loved it.
Okay, I enjoyed that movie as well. I really enjoyed Lee Pace jumping up and thinking he was playing werewolf, severely misreading the situation he was in. Very funny.
I did not recognize Lee Pace because I don't really know him from things. But I'm like, oh, who is this like just like older like ripped dude? I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense as Lee Pace. But Rachel Sennett, wonderful.
Yes.
Everybody wonderful.
Thought
Okay.
it was enjoyable. Go ahead.
Top 3 favorite movies, 2 from the last decade, 1 from the 90s. The one from the 90s is a kid's movie. But also accessible and fun for the whole family.
Okay, 90s kids movie.
And I will also say the 90s kids movie is one of the most influential and important and trend-setting kids movies of all time.
Toy Story.
Toy Story, number 3.
Oh, okay. I wasn't even thinking animation. I was immediately, when you said kids movie, I wasn't thinking animation. I was thinking like, live action movie about kids. Got it.
Joe just sat back, took a shot, nailed it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
First 2 movie, like Hell or High Water, also from the past decade, both in the 2010s, both great movies that I love. The first one, number 1, is by a director that Garrett brought up earlier this episode, and it's my favorite movie by this director.
Who the hell did I bring up earlier in this episode?
I hate when he does that, right? Like
I
Joey,
know.
like not in a like I don't actually hate it, Joey,
No,
but like
no.
I'll just be like, who the fuck was I talking about
Yeah,
3
what-
minutes ago?
I know. I literally can't remember ever bringing a director up on this other than David Mackenzie, who we just talked about. Who else did we
Before
talk
you
about?
came on, like, when we stopped the intro thing, and I was just like, Joe, do you remember what you said just now so I can bring us back in? He's like, nope. I'm like, okay, cool, me neither. So I had to like listen back. Like it had just happened a minute ago, and we're both like, nope, don't remember.
Milliseconds. Yep.
I think I know the director, so now I need to pick one of their movies.
Who's the director? Come on, give me the clue.
Hold on, I want to see if Garrett can Kobe this, and then we'll go from there. My favorite movie by this director.
It's your favorite movie by this director.
Yeah. I would also say it's probably a lot of people's favorite movie by this director.
Oh, really? Okay, because I'm just going to say my favorite movie by this director, and then we'll find out if I'm even on the right director. Is it Blade Runner 2049?
Right director, wrong movie. The director is Denis Villeneuve.
Okay.
Okay, so most people's favorite movie by him. So is it Sicario?
No. I would say this guy, he has 4 movies that could be most people's favorite movie by him.
Right,
But
so is it Arrival?
it is Arrival.
Okay, got it.
Good one.
Or
Okay.
as Joe would call it, the other space movie.
The other space movie.
I do love that movie, by the way. That is among his best movies, I think.
Arrival was good. Arrival was definitely really good, yeah.
But Blade Runner 2049 is my pick.
His number 2, yeah, I mean, I love them all. Arrival makes me cry. The other one, Blade Runner does not. Dune is also fucking awesome. Sicario is great.
Yeah.
Prisoners, we talked about on here recently.
You seen Enemy? Enemy rules.
Enemy rules. Enemy's great. I've not seen his early stuff, but I've seen everything in the last, decade or so.
Yeah.
Number 2 is another recent movie, another auteur, another very kind of film snob pick in a way that I very much agree with. I think this movie is awesome. It is the first film by a guy who so far has put out 2 movies, and his second movie is one of my all-time favorites.
Because this director has only put out 2 movies, but they've been this decade, so they're like...
This movie from the past decade, even last 5 years, I'll say, is the first movie. So they both come out in the last 5 years.
Okay.
I love both of these. His second one, his follow-up, is one of my all-time favorites.
Wow.
I will also say, in terms of gossip, the lead of the second movie just announced that she and her boyfriend split after 3 years. Depending on how you read the news, that might help or that might not help.
I do not read the news in any meaningful way like that, so that was not helpful, but I appreciate it.
But this is a director and a film that film nerds love.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to check the numbers. I'm going to peep the numbers on this. Almost 1 million people have seen this, and 16,000 have it in their top 4.
Jesus.
Okay, could this be a clue?
It's a huge movie.
Could you help lead me to their first movie a little more?
Well, this is their first movie.
This is their first movie.
This is the first movie, yes.
Okay.
Garrett, you saw this movie, gave it 3 stars.
Okay.
So you did not see it you did not appreciate it the way that everybody else did.
Right, most people love it. Oh, wait. Okay, I think I know who it is, and it's their first movie?
Mm-hmm.
Is it Hereditary?
It's Hereditary. Ari Aster then made Midsommar, which is one of my all-time favorites, and Florence Pugh and Zach Braff have broken up.
Yeah, I actually mildly hate Hereditary. I had 3 stars. That was a little confusing to me because I was like, I gave that movie 3 stars? That's like a 1-star movie in my brain.
My guess, Garrett wrote, is you'll see some Best Actor nominations from this movie. The performances are incredible across the board.
Yeah, they are really good. Yeah,
and it's a really well-made movie with some interesting visual ideas and relentless pace. It's really quite good, but I pretty distinctly did not like this movie.
Yeah, I mostly hated that movie. But I did like Midsommar when I rewatched it recently. I thought Midsommar was very good.
Have you seen the director's cut of
it
or no?
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
And I don't know that the director's cut is actually better on that one. I actually think most of the cuts that were made to that movie totally make sense, and you don't really need the extra context of the other scenes, but none of them are like bad or anything. You know what I mean? It's not like one of those director's cuts where you're like, boy, why are we doing this? You know?
Right. Yeah. We didn't do our heist picks. Let's do our heist picks very quickly.
We definitely can, but I think there's like one answer to
Who's
this
the one answer?
It's Chris Pine.
Because he's not a loose cannon, he's very competent at what he does, right?
Yeah, super competent, very clever, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and he's ultimately good. Right,
okay.
Like,
let me hit you with this because you probably do. You guys have is the reason Pine's not that exciting an answer because you have Pines on your teams already, basically.
There's so many dudes that are like such superheroes on the team.
Yeah,
that like Pine's a guy that's like low-time criminal, which I think can fit in some situations, but he doesn't have like a superpower, right?
So, do you maybe need and I'm going to get her last name wrong because I always say it wrong. Is it Katie Noxon? Katie Mixon? Katie Moxon?
Mixon. M-I-X-O-N.
Do you just need a really good-looking woman to sort of be the distraction for a particular part of the height? You know what I mean? Like, she's actually
genuinely don't know who's on our team already. I will say that our last episode, again, there was a tie on the Patreon. I will also say, I thought the patrons would care more about this game. They've increasingly shown they do not give a shit about this game in terms of the voting.
I find it fun, though.
Ramsey and Deckard both tied with 1 vote. Joe, your vote of Cypher did not get any votes. Ramsey has 1 vote and Deckard has 1 vote, so they're in the running for whatever. But like we already have Ramsey, so I don't know if we need a Katie Mixon when we have I mean, Ramsey has other skills.
I was just trying to cleverly think around like who else could you pick other than Chris Pine in this movie, and that's like the one person I think like she actually does help with this.
We don't have a ton of women though. To be fair, we have a 14-year-old Kristen Stewart from Catch That Kid.
Yes.
We have Kermit. We have Kermit the Frog, Constantine from Muppets Most Wanted.
Oh, sure.
But we don't have a lot of women, so I think Katie Mixon here is not a bad idea.
Because she does have an
Ann.
interesting role to play within this heist. Not that she's actually intentionally part of it, but there is a role that she's playing that I think is interesting. And I do tend to like movies where like a good heist actually does have like 1 or 2 key players that are not really skilled in any kind of thievery. They are skilled in some sort of like theatricality or something, right? That actually helps with the heist.
And it feels like she would be good at the kind of thing that they try to get Roman to do in Fast Five, to like sweet talk someone. Like she could do that. She could put up with no bullshit, and she could also just like be someone who wiles people over with her looks and her charm and whatever. So,
she could keep like a cop or as a casino owner or whatever rock is in your way. She could keep them talking for like long enough, right?
Yeah.
Maybe that's
I like that.
That's my curveball pick for so that you don't have to pick Chris Pine.
No, I wrote them both down. Good.
I also would have taken like my backup guy was I feel like the Billy Black character almost was about to break bad.
Oh, I don't see that.
I was going to ask if you could take a character that is not technically like a thief from a movie and make them a.
From the beginning, I was like, should we do cops? And we're both like, that's too complicated. Like, there's too many things going on.
Fair, yeah.
But I was saying just like because he like looks at the bank at one point and he seems like he's also on the side of like fuck the bank. You know what I mean?
I think he's on the side of fuck America, really.
Yeah.
Also fair. Totally fair. But in that case, like having like kind of a mildly corrupt cop or at least a cop that can turn his eye wouldn't be bad to have on the team.
Sure. Yeah.
But he also gets shot in the head, so I was like,
Here's what I will say about that character, and this doesn't even matter to your point though, Joe, but I don't know that I see that character actually like becoming a bad or dirty cop as much as I fully agree that he hates America, basically.
He's still doing his job.
Yeah, he seems like somebody that is loyal to their work and sees an opportunity in their work and whatever. You know what I mean? Like I don't see that character necessarily as somebody that would break bad. But
I think he would, like, if he broke any which way, he would break just away from Jeff Bridges. Just like, I can't deal with this asshole.
Yeah, also exactly.
Fair. Yeah,
but he's going to retire anyway, so.
Yeah.
Well, Garrett, thank you so much for joining us. You were just on about a month ago. Anything new in the last month? Anything you want people to know about you? Where can they follow you? What's going on with Killer Bees?
Yeah, people can keep checking out Killer Bees. Our episode about Sharon Stone will be up by the time people are listening to this.
Cool.
It's a terrific episode. It was a delight to look at her filmography. I think Basic Instinct is actually like a crazy great movie that has a weird
really
reputation from when it came out, but is just a terrific movie.
Did you guys watch Mosaic?
We did not. What is Mosaic? Tell me about it.
Mosaic was a Soderbergh miniseries for HBO.
Okay, yep.
That was also originally put out as an app.
Right.
And the app, you could choose your own adventure, and you could, you could, like, the show was linear. That was like, I think it was 6 one-hour episodes. That was like start to finish. But the app, like the actual Mosaic app, you could like the name implies, take pieces from anywhere and sort of try to solve the crime yourself.
Okay, that's interesting. Can you watch it as like a narrative at this point?
Yeah, I think it was on HBO when we did Soderbergh for Cinemakers. It was just available to watch on HBO. You could just watch it like as a don't have to do any work, just watch the thing. But she's so good in that.
Yeah, and that's fairly recent,
really,
right?
really
because
good.
she doesn't have a ton of recent work.
Yeah, like I don't know why. Other than like she got older and like Hollywood just like women get too old.
But also like I think Sharon Stone probably has some money and she's like doing what she wants, man.
That is definitely true. Like some of what we researched about her is like she, is somebody that like has a bunch of charities and likes to work with animals and like
awesome.
And so like I think she's doing a lot of sort of more like just kind of more personally fulfilling work.
Yeah, she's acting in a ton of things, but it's like one episode of this or playing herself in something else, right?
Yep. But she rules. Like getting through her filmography was so cool. So check that episode out because it was really cool to talk about her basically as something other than a sex object. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
and her career is so worth talking about in that context. So it was really cool. And yeah, we have a lot of we have a ton of back episodes now. So if people are interested, like we did Carol Kane recently, which was a ton of fun.
I think you were talking about that one the last time.
Okay, all right,
yeah.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, but check us out. We're at Killer Bees Podcast. That's Killer BS Podcast everywhere on the internet, and you can find me at Philadelphia on the internet.
Cool. And I also say, if you want more Sharon Stone, there was the 6-episode thing on Netflix, Murderville, where Will Arnett was like a rough detective, and they were improving a crime, and she played herself on one of those. So
was that good? Did you watch that?
Yeah, I think it's hit or miss depending on who the guest is. But like
you can't binge it either. It gets like you have to watch.
It's the same show every single time.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Got it.
So I'd say just pop in, just watch the Sharon Stone, and like watch
the Marshawn Lynch one was pretty incredible. Yeah.
Joe, next week we are back to our Fast and Furious with Hobbs and Shaw, but before then, Patreon bonus episode, TooFastTooForever.com. We are watching Every Lap. I give you one pick. I'm like, Joe, what movie do you want to do? I get all the other control. You get one. That's not how it really happens, but like sometimes it does. And you're like, let's do lucky number 11. So next week we're doing lucky number 11 for the Patreon, TooFastTooForever.com. And then Hobbs and Shaw.
Hey guys, I wanted to say congratulations on the. I listened to the 250th episode, so congratulations on that. That's really exciting, and I am very excited about the new format you announced for the show. I wanted you guys to know that I think it sounds cool, and I assume people are going to be excited about it.
Cool. And you'll be on late next lap. You'll be on for a pit stop movie, which is very exciting. But thank you so much.
If we don't harass you 15 minutes into an episode to come and join us.
Hey, listen,
you joined elite company that only you and Brian's late night slumber party Rodriguez have ever joined an episode mid-episode. Basically, we had him on for a Fast and Furious minute, and we're like, "Hey, you want to stick around?" He's like, "Yeah, sure, okay."
I love it.
So,
well, I'm happy to be here,
people.
And I'm happy to be pinch hitter whenever you need it.
Awesome.
Pinch hitter fan favorite Garrett Smith.
That's right. Yes. See, I'm doing this. I'm telling you guys, I'm doing this. I'm building that nickname. It's getting bigger all the time.
Bench. The pinch hitter. I like that a lot. For all things Too Fast, Too Forever, go to cageclub.me, facebook.com/TooFastTooForever, or at TooFastTooForever on Twitter and Instagram. Email us, family@cageclub.me. Check out our Patreon page at TooFastTooForever.com. Next week for our lucky number 11 episode in our store at TooFastTooForever.shop for that dumb George Pickens shirt.
Yes.
And come back next week for lucky number 11 bonus episode and Hobbs and Shaw on the main feed. I'm Joey Lewandowski.
I'm Joe, too.
And that was off the bench pinch hitter Garrett Smith, and we'll tell you all about it
when we see you again.